Joining us today. My name is Bob Mitchell. As mentioned before, we have David Arriaga as well. I'm the Purkeys representative from Florida, and Dave covers our California area. Thank you again for being here. We're talking about electrifying your reefers while keeping your drivers safe. The word that you're going to hear throughout this presentation is safe and safety and safely. Our SAFEX product is designed to maximize safety features, and we're going to talk about that, Dave. Thank you again for joining us. David is going to talk to us about some California Air Resource Board laws, or restrictions, I should say, regulations, also known as CARB. So I'm going to pass this over to David and tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Thanks, Bob. So basically, let's just kind of get into it. What is CARB proposing? So CARB, what they're proposing is the regulation of TRUs, as well as other refrigerated trailers, truck bodies, and transport containers. So in essence, what they're saying is when a trailer or a TRU goes to a facility, they want the diesel part of it to shut off within 15 minutes of arriving. So how do they plan on accomplishing that and being able to track that to keep everybody doing what they want them to do? Effectively, what it's going to do is going to cut down on the carbon footprint and greenhouse gases that are being emitted out into the, polluting the universe. So they're going to have a geofence, is basically what it is. So as soon as your vehicle gets into that geofence at that particular facility, the clock's going to start, and you have 15 minutes basically to hook up to what's called shore power or electric standby. So we'll move on to the next slide here. So what is an ETRU? Basically, E2 stands for Electric Transportation Refrigeration Unit, which is a type of refrigeration unit used by transport vehicles such as trucks and trailers to keep perishable foods at a specific temperature while transporting. So it'll keep it cool, it'll keep it warm, whatever you need done at that point in time. It's basically what it's supposed to be doing. So in the recent years, there's been an increasing concern about the environmental impact of diesel-powered transportation refrigeration units. They obviously emit pollutants and contribute to the greenhouse gas emissions. As a result, the regulations have been introduced by CARB to reduce emissions from these units. So a true, again, continued with that. It's basically anything that you're going to use to transport and store products, including unlimited to food, pharmaceuticals, plants, medicine, blood, chemicals, photographic film, artwork, explosives. Basically, TRUs make it easy for us to transport things that need to remain cool or heated. So eggs, milk, all that sort of good stuff. So specifics on this, without getting too detailed, I kind of want to just give a broad overview of it. I'm not going to include any dates because a lot of that stuff is up in the air. It may be resolved by now. I'm not sure. I know we have a lot of people from CARB on this. But the regulation that CARB is proposing, it basically is setting emission standards for transport refrigeration units in California. And it's going to require new transport refrigeration units sold in California to have B0 emission units, or either all electric or using a fuel cell like hydrogen. So CARB also is going to set performance standards for the units, including requirements for temperature control and energy efficiency. Existing transportation units can continue to operate, but they must be retrofitted with CARB compliant emission control devices by certain deadlines. So like I said, high level overview of it. I'm not going to get into dates because I don't want to misinform anybody, but just understand that it's coming. So what does that mean for fleets? So the pros are you can save diesel while connected to shore power because as soon as you hook up to the shore power, your diesel engine is going to turn off and it's going to turn to electricity. So at that point, we're not throwing any pollutants out into the air, and we're running solely off of electricity. So that while diesel is more convenient, electricity is a lot cheaper. So we can protect your revenue stream with that, because a lot of what people don't see is, let's say I'm going to a distribution center and I hook up there. Once I hook up the shore power, that electricity needs to get billed. So that's a way, another revenue stream for that particular distribution center. Because as we'll go through it later on, everybody that comes and does business in California will have to fall under these requirements. So even if you're a fleet that's out of, let's say, Arizona or New Mexico, and you're coming and doing business in California, you're going to have some sort of shore power connection to be able to run in the state of California. With that being said, we're going to go into the cons. Obviously, there's going to be additional costs for outfitting your fleet and warehouses. And nobody wants to have to pay extra money out of their pocket. And there's also, you're paying for electricity for your reefer everywhere you go in California. Like I said, though, you do save on diesel. And just in that sense, what you're looking at is an increased revenue stream, but at the same time, too, you're paying if you're going to a facility that's not your facility. So now we'll get to the first poll question. Is CARB regulations, are they only restricted to California? You have a 50% chance here. It's a yes or no answer. So I'll give you guys a few moments here to answer, and then we'll move forward. Think about it, guys. It may be a little bit of a trick question. I like to give hints here, but think about it and reread it if you have to. And once we get a few more answers, we'll move forward here.
And we are giving grades on this.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to be tested at the end here.
There will be a test.
Okay, so for the most part, I guess we got most of our answers here. We'll move to next slide to reveal the answers, and then we'll kind of talk about them. Okay, so the question was, are CARB regulations restricted to California? 66.7% of you answered yes. 33.3% of you answered no. The correct answer on this is yes, but with the caveat of there is roughly around 17 other states that follow suit of California. So whatever California puts out there, we're the industry leader. So we kind of do everything first. So there's 17 other states that follow suit. So it's kind of a yes and no, because like I said as well, when you come into California, you still have to adhere to our regulations here. And eventually it becomes a nationwide thing. So
yeah, David, we've talked about this before about trucks from Texas coming into California. They have to be CARB compliant if they're going to go into California and work.
Yes, sir. If they're running the reefer in California, they're going to have to be compliant.
And these restrictions are coming. A lot of the United States follows California's lead, if you will. And so these restrictions are on, or these regulations are on their way.
Yeah, they are, and it's something that you have to analyze and look at. Obviously, we'll kind of interject a little bit later on, but there's free money out there, guys. So it's something that it's going to take planning, infrastructure, and out here locally we have Southern California Edison. We have Pacific Gas and Electric, San Diego Gas and Electric, and we have CARB out here in California that are more than willing to help and give you answers. And we're also able to help and give as many answers as we can. But there's free money out there, and like with anything else, it's out there and it's first come, first serve. So if you don't take advantage of it now and start trying to plan, that's what I suggest the most, is get out there and plan. Then you're going to probably be sorry and paying out of pocket later on. So the most important thing right now is getting this information out to everybody, trying to kind of get ahead of it and help out as many people as possible. So with that being said, we'll move on to the next slide. And we got Bob Mitchell that's going to speak on the rest of this, and I'll be interjecting here and there.
Yeah. I'll touch a little bit back to that, Dave. With these regulations coming, thinking that, in a couple of years, I'll go ahead and get compliant. You may run into supply shortage issues with some of these applications. Now's the time to start planning towards that, because that last minute, you're going to be facing a lot of fines, and you're going to wish you got ahead of it. So
Correct.
that brings me to what we're talking about with what fleets are currently doing, what we have seen. I've got a number of pictures here, but the picture on the far left is a customer of mine that was using this type of plug-in for his reefer. And the logic being, we're going to put it on the rear of the reefer of the trailer. We're going to have it facing out so that if the driver decides not to disconnect, it's just going to unplug when he pulls the truck away. And that was their technology, if you will. As you see from the third picture coming in, that's the plug from their unit. And you see a lot of the scoring that takes place. Without a disconnect there and just pulling the plug out, you're going to get a lot of scoring that way, and arcing issues. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but this particular customer had about $7,000 in 1 year just in replacing those plugs, just in some of those arcing issues. And then of course you see the difference with our plug there and the safer, as I mentioned before, the safer option that we're going to use here. So that's kind of what some other customers have been using. Also, one thing is a difference here. Obviously, we have a cover on ours. Their units from pictures 1, 2, and 3 don't have a cover to it. You get all kinds of environmental issues, rain and whatever else goes into that plug is going to cause problems. I don't know about you, but I get nervous even when I'm plugging my Christmas lights in and it's wet outside, let alone plugging 480 volts in and having a wet plug or whatever it may be. So having that covered is a big deal. So again, talking about what other things we have seen. The unit on the left is a customer of mine. They were using this. Not a very clean look, if you will. It has a power button on there. I would challenge you guys to figure out whether this unit was on or off, because it has a number of different buttons and things. But you look at the far left corner, it's got a little small LED to tell you whether it's on, and a plunger there that they have to use. And it's a side-facing unit, so someone has to be right up close next to it in order to see if it's on. And this particular unit does not disconnect when it continues power until you turn it off. We're going to talk about the difference of our autosafe versus this, but if you have to get this close to it to turn it off to see whether it's on, and that cable is sitting in a pool of water with that open connector that we're talking about, you're going to have 480 volts going through that puddle of water you're standing in, and that's going to be a real problem for you. So that's why we talk about safer. As you can tell from our unit on the right, there's a very large LED that says this thing is connected, and our unit will not power up unless the plug is in and it is connected to the truck. So you can sit there and mash that blue button all day long. It makes a nice little thud sound, but it will not cut on for you. So you don't have power going to that end connector. So now what? We talk about these CARB laws and our product that goes along with it. But we have basically 3 components. One is the auto connect that you see at the, or auto eject that you see at the rear of the trailer there that hooks up to the trailer. Number 2 is the SAFEX box or the auto connect. And then 3 is our cable management. We have a different cable management system. Getting back to the slide I just was showing, if you look at their cable management system, you got to spool that cable up. How many times is a driver going to disconnect the cable, go back there and nicely re-spool it, then hop in his truck and drive off? You probably know the answer to that better than I do. Moving on to the next slide. So what can Purkeys do for you? Obviously, our key word that we're talking about here is safety. We're talking about 480 volts passing through the source to that trailer. Many issues can occur. You got that arcing issue that I just talked about. That causes a problem. What you want to have is a unit that cuts off, it deactivates before it pulls out. And that's what ours does. You can have explosions. You can have, obviously, as I talked about, electrical shock. Potential death. If you're standing in a puddle with that one connector with 480 volts, you may not survive it. The CDC values a human life at about $10 million. I know some of my in-laws, I wouldn't value them that high, but a regular person, $10 million. Obviously, that's going to be a big problem for your company if you cut corners, if you went cheap, and there was an untimely death based upon that, opens your company up for a lot of lawsuits and other problematic issues. So where do we come up with this technology? Where do we start with this? Purkeys is a sister company to Kuzmal. Kuzmal's been in the business for about 25 years. They started out in the ambulance side of the business. Here again, ambulances come in, they plug in at night and have all the electrical components upon that ambulance plugged in there. And when they've got to go, they got to go quickly. The driver can't jump out and unplug everything and jump in and drive. So we came up with this product, the auto eject product, that when he hops in and he hits the brake or he hits the ignition, it's down the road, everything unplugs and it's gone. So that's where this technology came from. That's what's been around for about 25 years. So SAFEX in action. We're going to show you a video here in just a second, but the idea being drivers may not be tuned in to everything that's going on. They may not, when they hop in their truck, they may not remember to unplug that unit. And of course, driving off is going to rip that unit out from the wall, leave a bare wire. It's going to cause all kinds of damages. So this is where this product comes in line here. If the driver does forget to disconnect with our product, no worries, we're going to do it for you. And I'm going to show you a video of how that works. To pay attention to this video, you're going to look at not the presentation, but the video box. It's going to show there. It's going to be a quick 3-second video, so don't miss it. But this is what happens when a driver jumps in the truck and hits the brake. So just like that, he jumps in the truck, he hits the brake, the auto ejects the plug out of there, and you will notice on that plug there is a cover on the auto connect and the auto eject. So it's protected from the rain, but with the cable management system, pulls it up off the ground. So if there is a puddle of water, if there is something there, it's off the ground and no problems that way. We can custom design this for you guys, do the cable management system in any way you want to. Whether you want to do it on the rear or the side, whatever that may be, whether you want to have it angled. We originally had started with a plug that came in from the rear, and then of course we go to the side as well, and then we angle it from the side. So whatever's going to be cleaner, safer, and environmentally friendly for your business, we can make it happen. So SAFEX overview, kind of what applications do we have? Obviously, fleet applications, anything with a reefer or a trailer manufacturer this is going to be a product for them. Distribution centers, people backing up into there and being able to plug in. And of course, grocery stores. That's been we've got a couple grocery stores that are using us now, and food consumables has been a big unit for this, a big driver of this. So there's 3 basic parts to the SAFEX: the auto eject, which we talked about, which is the unit that hooks up to the trailer, and that's where the magic happens, if you will. The auto safe, which was the box, is where the power comes from, and then of course the cable management system. Auto safe features, and the auto safe is that box that attaches to the wall there. In the video, you saw it kind of on a side wall. We've had it on back walls before. But one thing that's really unique about this, obviously, is you can see the connect button. A driver in his mirrors can look back and see, oh man, that blue light's on, I forgot to disconnect. Or you can drive off with it connected because we're going to disconnect for him. But the idea being that it is connected, it is something that we can see very well. So that's a big feature there. We can only connect, it only applies power if the plug is connected to the socket and the power button is activated. So as I said before, you can go back there and mash that button all you want. Until you plug it in, it will not connect. And it de-energizes the plug automatically when the plug is ejected. So you don't have to go back and disconnect when the driver hits the brake or hits ignition, whatever 12-volt signal you want to use. That disconnects automatically. There's a little pin inside of that auto eject that pushes it out or disconnects, and then it pushes the auto eject out. I would have a picture of that pin, but it's just very hard to see inside there. You're gonna have to take my word for Of course, we use the NEMA standards and IP67 standards for outdoor protection. So these are fully safe outdoor, and they are UL listed, and they are easy to install. For this box, we do recommend that you have an electrician install it. In the applications I've used, we've had an electrician. It takes all of 30 minutes to 45 minutes to get it plugged in, to get it installed. And this is just a diagram of what the AutoSafe is. It's a little bit smaller than a lunchbox. As I said, very easy to install, very user-friendly, and obviously is going to provide a much safer application than, as you saw, that green box that we had in the slides before. So that's the AutoSafe. Now we're talking about the Auto Eject. This allows for 480 volts, and we can use 240 volts as well, shore power to the vehicle. It ejects the plug from the receptacle whenever the brake is engaged, or you can use whatever 12-volt signal you want. It can be a seat sensor for that matter, or brake, or ignition, whatever it may be. But whenever that signal is sent to the auto eject, it pushes that plug out. So this eliminates arcing, like we talked about before. You're not, we're cutting the power, and then the plug is coming out. It's not getting pulled out, so you don't have any of the arcing issues. This utilizes the International Electrotechnical Commission standard for 4-pin and sleeve connectors, protects the mechanism from road contamination by using those waterproof and watertight cable fittings, and of course that the cover on there, cover on the plug and the cover on the auto eject helps that out as well. It is smoothly sculpted with no sharp edges, so you don't have to worry about snags or things like that. And the snaps the weatherproof cover closed when the plug gets ejected, so you're not having any corrosion or contamination inside that auto eject. And as I mentioned before, there's been 25 years that Cruisamall has been doing this in North America and in Europe, and so we've utilized that technology from our sister company. And over 250,000 installations in public safety applications. So ambulances, fire trucks have been using this, so it's good for our industry as well. And a little bit about the dimensions of the auto eject. Fits well right in, under that back wheel well. We have an enclosure that kind of helps protect it as well, so a good spot for it there. So if you guys want the dimensions, that's what that is for. So brings us to our next question. Which of the following SAFEX, which of the following was SAFEX designed to address? So you have a list here of what does SAFEX do for you as a customer. A, 480 shore power. B, it was designed to address safety concerns, carb regulation, driver safety, drive-off prevention. A and C, all of the above or none of the above. We're going to give you guys a few moments to decide about that test question as well. And as we said, we're going to be grading on this. So take a few moments, and based upon the information we just gave you, what do you think SAFEX was designed to address? Dave, I was going to ask you, but I didn't want to call you out on here. I think you know the answer, though, don't you, Dave?
I think I might know the answer.
Okay. Let's go ahead and check the next, see what the poll results are. Looks like all of the above. Well, congratulations. I was so hoping no one would say none of the above. And so thank you very much for not insulting us that way. But yes, all the above. Drive-off prevention, driver safety, carb regulations, obviously safety concerns, and for providing 480 shore power. So congratulations to you guys. So that brings us to the end of our presentation, and there may be some questions you may have. This is the point in time where we'd love to answer any concerns or personal applications that you may be interested in. Please let us know if you have a question. Any way we can give you more information about this product.
Yeah, or also feel free to contact us after the webinar, either Bob or myself or anybody for that matter at Purkeys. And, we'll be happy to answer any questions we can. Also, if you're in California, I can get out and do a demo for you Tim, our new West Coast account manager, can also be out there, and we'll make the time to go out there, train your mechanics if you do have mechanics, or whatever other third party you use to install or to modify your trailers. We can always go out there and train them on the install as well. So just know that's out there and that's available.
And if I might, Purkeys does, as Dave, you just mentioned, Purkeys does a great job of supporting their products. Dave's in the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast. Got some guys in the Northeast and throughout Mid-America that have these SAFEX boxes available. They can come and do demonstrations for you. We can come and talk to you about what's the best way to install. I know I've had hands-on, and Dave has had hands-on in some of the installations we've done. So we're there for you. We're not just going to throw the product at you and say good luck with it. There's a huge support team in Arkansas that's available to help you with product applications and customizing it for you. You may want to do this or do that, or like this cable management system, whatever it may be. We're there to help you out with that.
And I know there may be a question out there. Hey guys, what happens if it fails, if it doesn't auto eject? Well, no worries with that. I did want to mention it. Our mounting bracket is positioned at a 45-degree angle. So even if something were to fail mechanically, which we haven't had a lot of that in the emergency vehicle front, but if it were to fail, it would pull out automatically at that 45-degree angle just with the force of the trailer taking off. So kind of got everything covered. We tried to think of everything. So if the mechanical part of the plunger were to fail, it's still going to disconnect, and the cable management system is going to retract it and get it up out of the way so the driver doesn't run it over, or the incoming driver doesn't back up over it. So that's the first thing we want to do. Is safety is the main concern. We don't want 480 volts to be out there live and active. So that's why we have a lot of different things that it has to go through for it to have power. So like Bob mentioned, you have to have a connection. It has to sense the load for it to power on. So a lot of safety in mind. And with that, if nobody has any questions, I think we're pretty much done here. Like I said, feel free to send us an email, reach out to us. We'll be glad to help in any way we can.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.